All right, guys, Oklahoma City Horror Con, this is your Terrifier panel. All right, brother. Well, how do you feel about being in Oklahoma City at this Horror Con, meeting all these beautiful fans?
Oh, I'm having a great time. This is it was a great turnout and everything this weekend. So it's been a lot of fun. So thank you all for showing up and showing us some love. Yes. And I also want to apologize that, Damien couldn't be here, but he is really busy right now trying to finish the final touches on Terrifier 3. So I think that's a little bit more important right now so we're ready. We're ready for October, so yee! I can't wait. I'm going to ruin y'all's Christmas.
That's awesome.
Yes.
All right, we got the personal young man.
How did you get into character while playing art?
Oh, that's fun. I don't know what it says about me. It's like, it just comes to me naturally. I don't have to do like the method acting, Jared Leto type of stuff where I have to be art all day. I just show up and do my thing. I think that more comes from my stage days where I would play multiple characters in the show. So I would do my research before, and so I knew where the character was, so I could always have that person living up in my head. And so I could just turn it on, turn it off. Because sometimes on stage I had to interact with myself. I would play multiple characters, so I'd have to argue with myself on stage, so I had to be able to switch back and forth. So I'm able to do that with art. And I think my co-stars are very grateful that I can do that, because I would probably be dead by now because they would all want to, especially Lauren, because she's got a black belt, and she would probably want to kill me if I stayed as art the whole entire time on set. Though I do have fun with her. I do like to play jokes on her because she is afraid of clowns. And so I've risked my life several times by sneaking up behind her and scaring her. So that's a lot of fun. So yeah, cruising for a bruising. So one of these days I'm probably going to get punched. But it's worth it because it's so funny.
So from what I understand, Art doesn't say very much, but he's very exaggerated. Is that type of very exaggerated physical acting difficult for you, or does it just like come naturally? And what mindset are you in when you are doing that kind of acting?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that's kind of there's multiple parts to that. First of all, a lot of it does come naturally to me, and I discovered why that is. It's because my aunt is deaf, and I realized this last 2 years ago when I was at my cousin's wedding talking to my aunt, because she lip reads very well. I learned a little sign language, but just because she could lip read so well, I never really learned as much as my sister and other members of my family. So I would interact with her, and everything was very broad with movements and facial expressions. And I realized that when I was talking to her at the wedding, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where so much of this comes from, because she's very animated herself. And I was like, I love that I've been able to add that into this character without realizing it. But also, I grew up with a great education in physical comedians. My parents and grandparents had me watching like the old black and white comedies, like Marx Brothers and Harold Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin, all that. And my other aunt gave me a box set of Mr. Bean videos when I was about 13 years old. And I sat there and I just would watch those videos over and over and over and over and over and over, because I love that style. I love silent, mischievous characters, and I always wanted a chance to play a character like that. And so I was like, oh, maybe one day. And also, because I did a lot of children's theater growing up, and children really love physical comedy. They're more into the physical comedy over the verbal comedy. And so I was able to perfect this physical comedy persona, I guess you could say, over years of doing children's theater. But I never actually studied acting professionally. I went to school and got a degree in elementary education. So yes, I used to teach children. So that might be why I'm a little bit crazy in that way too. But I I never had anybody that could really sit down and help fine-tune my skills that I've been cultivating for all these years until I had the honor and privilege to understudy the great Stephen Carl, who a lot of people might know as Robbie Rotten from the show Lazy Town. I was his understudy for 5 years on the tour of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical, which I actually brought here back, I think, in 2014. I played Grandpa Who in the show, but I was also the Grinch understudy. So I had 5 years under him to really learn, because this man was a master at physical comedy. He actually was trained in clowning and mime work and all that, and he was able to take me aside and really help fine-tune my abilities. And so when I was cast as Art, I called Stefan up. I'm like, dude, because he also was a huge fan of Mr. Bean and characters like that. And I'm like, dude, I got cast as this character finally, this type of character, and I would just love some advice. And we had a nice long chat about how to really tackle this character, and so I was able to bring a lot of that to it. And I put a lot of Stefan into this character. I've realized looking back at it, and when you look at some videos of him as Robbie Rotten, you'll probably see a lot of Art the Clown, and especially with him sneaking around and stuff like that. So I was like, and unfortunately, Stefan left us back in 2018 because of cancer. And so I like to think in a way somehow I am carrying the torch for him, because that man was a master at what he did, and it's a shame the world was robbed of his talent. And I hope I'm doing him proud in some way. So that's a lot. That's the long answer, I guess, to that question. But that's, art comes from a lot of different places.
Good afternoon, David. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
My question is, going in for that first audition to perform as Art the Clown, did you ever imagine that it would become such an iconic character, and how does that feel dealing with that sort of stardom?
Oh boy, yeah, no, I had no idea. This was my first big film role that I had ever auditioned for, because when I moved to New York, I wanted to be on Broadway or do voiceover work, and so I saw this audition come up because it was a character I wanted to play before, like the Silent Mischievous character. It's like, oh, this is too good of an opportunity to miss on. And I looked at the audition notice, and it was a low budget independent film. It was made for next to nothing. We made it on $35,000, which is unheard of this day and age. And so I was like, okay, probably no one's going to see this movie. And I'm like, I hope some people get to see it. I know at least hopefully the fans from All Hallows Eve get a chance to see this and they like what we do here. But I'm like, I'm trying to be honest with myself. And I was like, well, it might be a great opportunity to get some really good experience being in front of a camera, to learn what it's like to be on a set, learn the lingo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it'd be great for a demo reel. Had no idea what this is going to go into. And we had like one of our producers come on set one night. It's the first time he ever seen me in the whole makeup and everything. He's like, oh my God, that's a character right there. That's going to grab people right there. You got something there. And we're like, I don't know. Maybe some people will see, but we don't know. So we were floored. We were absolutely floored by everybody's reception to this film, and it is truly an underdog story, because it was the fans, you guys, that got us to where we are. It wasn't the studio system at all. It was the fans. It's the word of mouth, all the horror websites, the podcasts, all that. You guys were the ones that made us what we are, and we've been so eternally grateful to you guys. So thank you. You guys made this possible.
Hey, David. I was wanting to see what you could talk a little bit about Screamboat and maybe what you pulled from to play the character of Willie.
Oh, you're talking about Screamboat, huh? Oh, boy, that's a fun role. I just ended up filming that last week. I filmed all my stuff for that in a very, very warm costume, filming in California. So that was a lot of fun. It was about 3 hours of makeup I went through. They haven't released the images yet of him yet, but I will say Willie is quite the beast in this movie. As many of you know, they recently made the character Steamboat Willie. He entered the public domain. And so my director from The Mean One decided to tackle this. He's like, I got to jump on this now. And so he teamed up with some of our team from Terrifier, as well as some of our producers from the Terrifier films as well, to make this movie. So it was a lot of fun. It's this little mouse going around on the Staten Island ferry killing people. It's a lot of fun. It's a silly, fun movie. It's like, if you're a Disney fan, you are going to love this movie. It's like, Disney might hate us. But oh well, he's public domain, so nanny nanny noo noo. But it's also it's a fun journey too for him, because this one is a role that's full circle for me in a lot of ways, because my first real leading role that I played, and the reason I first really wanted to get into acting, is because of this character. I back in 8th grade in middle school, I was a shy little bullied nerd in Huntsville, Alabama, and my choral department decided that year for our Christmas production to do a production of Mickey's Christmas Carol. And my mom was like, have your classmates ever seen this funny side of you? Because I was very quiet in middle school, because I went to a new school, no one knew me, and I got bullied a lot. I was really short, had glasses, braces, sang soprano in the choir, easy target. And my mom was always like, if people just saw that side of you, I think that would change things for you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe so. I mean, it's like, this might be an opportunity. She's like, well, they're doing Mickey's Christmas Carol. You do a great Mickey Mouse. Why don't you audition for him? I'm like, okay. And so I got the role. And when we're doing the production from the whole school and everything like that, things started to go wrong on stage. Like our backdrop fell down on top of Scrooge and I, and it was made of cardboard, so it didn't hurt. But I looked over at him like, oh, Mr. Scrooge, I think we have rats. and everybody starts laughing, and then there's the Cratchit family scene, because I was playing the Bob Cratchit character, and we had the whole thing with the meager Christmas dinner is this little piece of chicken, and the table broke and ended up shooting it over the audience. And I'm like, well, I guess we're having fast food tonight. And I had everybody just laughing, and I just kept improvising and making jokes until we got everything back on track. And that was the first time in my life, especially at that school, I had people laughing with me instead of at me. And I was like, this is great. I have all the power for once. And I'm bringing so much joy to these people. This is a great feeling. I want to do more of this. And I was so excited about it. And that night, I was like, Mom, I want to do more of this. And she encouraged me to start getting involved with the community theater. And so I started auditioning, and it took me a few times. And I finally got involved with doing children's show productions, and it just kept snowballing from there. So that's where my love for acting really started, was with Mickey's Christmas Carol. So it's kind of full circle for me to be able to come back and tackle the mouse again in a totally different way. And I had a blast, and I think you guys are going to have so much fun with this movie too. So I can't wait for you guys to see it. And you might see a small sneak peek of it, if you go see my other movie stream next month. So
my question is about the saw scene in the first Terrifier. What was it like filming that? And also, was it like a mannequin, or like what was the body?
Ooh. It was very, very cold for one. We shot that in January on Staten Island in this abandoned mental asylum. Well, at least part of it's abandoned. They still use part of it for a hospital and stuff like that, but that part of the building was abandoned, and it was very cold. We had no heat. And we did film a little bit with a prosthetic dummy. That's what I actually got to saw through, and that was a lot of fun to do. But we also used an actress, Catherine Corcoran, and she actually hung upside down like that for several hours, and we could only film it 30 seconds at a time, because it's very dangerous to have a human being upside down. It can damage them, and that was very stressful, because we only had just a small fraction amount of time to get the shots we needed, and then we had to swing her back up, let her rest, and all that. And she had, she was constantly having blood going up into her face, into her eyes, her nose, and stuff like that. She suffered, and it was so cold. But that I have to say, Catherine was the MVP of that film, because what she went through, and she did because she knew that scene was going to make us. She knew that was going to be horror history right there. That was going to change the game, especially for slasher films at that time. You did not see kill scenes like that in slasher films during that time frame, because everybody, it feels like the past 20 years or so, like, slashers have gotten so tame. Everybody's too afraid of offending people and stuff like that. And we're like, yeah, let's just go for it. Like, when I read the scene, Damien had it all written out what was going to happen. I thought that was just descriptors for us to know, okay, this, and we're just going to cut away, and then we'll cut back to the very end. He's like, oh, no, we're going to film all of that. And like, oh, wow, this is going to be something else. And I still think, I saw Catherine earlier this week, and we were reminiscing about that scene, and we're just talking about, like, here we had filmed all of it. We're on the Staten Island ferry about 6 o'clock in the morning after filming all night. I still have some makeup on. She still has makeup. We got blood still on us, and we're riding the ferry. And people were giving us the widest berth possible because we looked scary. And we sat there. We're just kind of in a daze, and we're just like, oh my God, I think we just filmed something historic. We're just like, this is going to change things. If people see this movie, this is going to change some things. And we were very excited about what we did, and it did. It changed our lives. So that was a scene, and and that's the thing. Now that's the bar we have to keep trying to live up to for all these movies. And I think we did that in part 2 with the bedroom scene, and we have some scenes in part 3, I think, that live up to it as well. So stay tuned.
Hello, David. My question is, well, before I get to my question, it's cool that you mentioned your inspirations from old Hollywood, because I always said that I did see a lot of Chaplin and Buster Keaton in your performances, so that's very cool. My question is, me and my friends have a debate in regards to, we think if you were transported into the past and you were given the opportunity to play any of the iconic Universal monsters, which one you would be best suited for? So I wanted to ask you that question.
That's a great question. Oh my gosh, because those Universal monsters. Oh, there's some great ones out there. But of course, Dracula would be fun. That's something. But I would actually not like to play Dracula. I would like more play like the Nosferatu, Count Orlok type of character. I'm kind of jealous of Bill Skarsgård right now. I was like, dang you. But I think the Creature would be a lot of fun to play. From Black Lagoon. Yeah. But also, because I play piano, I would love to play the Phantom of the Opera. I think he's a very interesting character. There's a lot of dimensions to that character, and I think he's a character that doesn't get a lot of love like I think he should. And that would be a fun role to tackle too. So who knows? Because I know, like, Universal is thinking about rebooting a lot of those classic monsters again. So who knows what might happen? I would jump at a chance to play any of them, though.
So the sunglasses scene in Terrifier 2 has now become iconic. Were those pre-chosen, or did you go through the whole rack, or was that scene ad-libbed?
That was probably my favorite part to film of the movie. I had so much fun. Yes, that was definitely improv. All I knew going into that was in the script it said there's a bunch of props, and Art just plays with what's on the shelves and stuff like that. So I showed up that night, and they had a whole entire side of that rack of glasses of different types of funny sunglasses they had bought. So I didn't know what was in store for me. So I went down that entire side rack of glasses with every single pair of glasses on there and did different things, like 2 or 3 things with every single pair. It was so much fun for me. It was a great exercise in improvisation. It's like, there's like one of like beer mugs, and so I was doing some fun stuff. Like they had the classic Groucho Marx glasses on there, but there are other props too. They had like whoopee cushions and stuff like that around me. I was having so much fun. It was just like they just let me play for a while, and I think I gave Damien enough footage to make just a movie of Art playing with props. So, so that was a fun, silly night for us. So that was, release that cut of the film. That would be interesting. I love those types of scenes, though. I love any of those situations where Art just gets to mess around with people in public, and we definitely have some scenes like that in part 3, so I'm excited for you guys to see that too. So, and Damien's so cool. I got all this downtime. Let's go all out on this. I have plenty of time to build prosthetics, so he just spent all this time revamping the scene and just made it so much bigger than it was originally supposed to be. He's like, let's just go for it. Let's just knock this thing out of the park and go crazy. And so he added so much more to that scene than was originally supposed to be in there. And I think is another way we made some history there. And it was as brutal as it was to film. It was also a lot of fun to film, and I had so much fun filming that. And I don't know how she did it, but she did it, and it came out so good. I'm so happy with it. So yeah.
So many iconic movies couldn't happen without those ladies.
No. So that's the thing. That's something that's I have to tip my tiny hat to Damien and see. He's been so good at casting all of our leading ladies in our films, and they're all powerhouses themselves. They're all both on screen and off screen. They're just amazing people to work with. I'm in awe of their talent, because especially when it comes to the screaming, I did not realize how much went into just having to scream like this, until I had to do a kill scene where I got killed in a movie called The Dark Offerings, and I lost my voice in the first 15 minutes. I'm like, how do they do this? And I got a stress headache and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, you mean they're doing this for days on end? I'm doing it for an hour. I'm like, I'm done, guys. I'm like, y'all are amazing. I got a hand to him, and especially Lauren too. I'm like, oh my gosh, she is a powerhouse. That girl is gonna go far. And I have to say, she was great in part 2. Part 3, she's gone to some places in this film where I'm like, if she should get an Oscar nomination for her performance in this, because it's. The way she portrays a trauma victim in this is so good. And she did a lot of research into it. And she is just her performance in this is just something I've never seen before in a slasher film with the final girl. And you guys, when we get to the eventual confrontation between the two of them, it's something else. That was one of my favorite parts of the film in part 3, is this confrontation scene between Sienna and Art. And you guys are going to be very happy.
Let's hear it for them ladies.
Have you stolen anything from set? And if you have, what was your favorite? If you can't share it, if it's one of the movies that haven't came out yet, just your favorite from the ones that have.
Oh, I've actually been a good boy. I only stole one thing, and I actually kind of asked for permission, because I'm a good boy. My mommy raised me right. It's because I got in trouble one time when I was a kid. I was a little kleptomaniac, but that's another story for another day. But I'll tell that in a second. But no, the only thing I took was a shell casing from the Clown Cafe scene with the Tommy gun. Because we had shell casings, everyone's like, they won't miss one of these. So I have it in my apartment, and I love it. I think it's so cool, because I had so much fun shooting that Tommy gun. I was like, this is fun. I was a big kid on set that day, because I got to shoot a flamethrower and a Tommy gun in the same day. I'm like, this is awesome. I even called up my dad, like, Dad, guess what I got to do today? Yeah, that was so much fun. But yeah, I've been good. I don't know. I keep on. I know that they still have a bunch of stuff from Terrifier 2 just sitting in that barn up and just rotting away. I'm like, guys, you need to sell this stuff. You could make a fortune off of this, and it could help fund the next film or something like that. So it's or just donate it to some of these, horror museums or something like that. Do some charity work or something. There's something we can do with this stuff. So there's a lot, but everybody's been pretty good for the most part, not taking stuff from set. So that's good. But Film-wise, I would say Terrifier 3 has been my favorite one to film so far. I had so much fun on this film. So much fun. I'm like, especially playing Santa. I'm like, Artie Claus, as I like to call him. And I there were some really fun scenes I got to do with some actors that I've really respected for most of my life that I never imagined I'd be in a scene with, and I got to really play with these guys, and I was like, this is amazing. Oh, and for the kleptomaniac story. So this lesson to you kids, don't do this. Don't steal. When I was about, I think, 5 or 6 years old, I was in the grocery store that one of my friend's dads owned. And I took a little piece of Laffy Taffy because I wasn't supposed to have candy. I was on a no-sugar diet as a kid because I had behavioral problems. And that time, I had too much sugar in me. And I really wanted to try Laffy Taffy. And it was a banana Laffy Taffy. And I just palmed that one little piece. And I thought I was being smart about it. And, parking lot with my mom. And she notices I just kept my hand behind my back. And I won't open the car door because I'm trying to keep it behind my back. And she's like, what's that? I'm like, what? And I'm switching it from hand. Nothing in my hand. Nothing in my hand. Nothing in my hand. And then, of course, it's like, show me both hands. And I'm, drop it. I'm like, dope. And she's like, okay, well, that's called stealing. We don't do that. You're taking money away from Mr. Kraft. That's Joe's dad. That's not nice to do. So I want you to go back inside the store and tell him what you did and apologize. And that was the worst feeling in the world because I would go to his house all the time and play with his son, and I had to. I'm sorry, I stole your candy. Sorry, Mr. Kraft, I never do it again. So I learned a valuable lesson that day. So yeah, that's why I try not to steal. So don't steal.
What was it like filming Terrifier 2?
That was a lot of, but it was a lot of fun, but a lot of work. Especially, I would say the probably the most miserable part of the film to film was the finale and the Terrifier, because we filmed that in a real haunted house in Philadelphia, and that place is cold in the winter. And we had no running water. Oh, no, we had running water, but we didn't have a lot of heat in there. And that was for like a few weeks we're in this building. And it was just cold and miserable, especially for poor Lauren. Because I'm wearing some layers of clothing. She's wearing that skimpy little battle angel outfit. And she's covered in so much yuck through most of it. And we're there for hours upon hours having to fight, but we would just get through the day just like, this is going to be amazing. This is going to look like we're like, just a little bit of suffering for eternity on film, and this is going to be awesome. But yeah, for the most part, Terrifier 2 was a lot of fun to film. There's a lot, and it's a fun group of people to work with too. Like I said earlier, Damien's great with casting, but he's great at casting people that all work well together. So you don't have egos or anything like that. Everybody we become like a family unit. And so even though we're in these miserable situations, we're all finding ways to build each other up and keep us going. Add levity to things. Like one night, one of our Fuzz on the Lens guys, he was also one of the cops in the first film. All of a sudden, we're like, where's Jason? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he busts out of this door wearing Sienna's Valkyrie costume. If you know that he's bald as anything, and just comes out and a little bit of pudge, stick it out, and like, oh God, no! And like, okay, we're good for the rest of the night. This is gonna be okay. We're fine. This is funny. This is too funny. So it's that kind of stuff that happen. There's so many shenanigans that go on set all the time. So that's how we get through all the tough stuff. We make light of the bad situations.
Yes, the way I first became a Terrifier fan was when I heard about the reports about people passing out, throwing up, ambulances being called, and I thought, I got to see this movie, So what did you think about those kind of, having that kind of reaction from people?
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, this is the best publicity ever. And that's the thing. A lot of people thought that was fake publicity. It was like our producers doing that. I'm like, Oh, no, this is real. We don't have that kind of budget to do this kind of publicity campaign. And people were sending me, I didn't post a lot of them because just for, content reason wise, but like people were posting me videos. I saw people having seizures during the movie where like they just got so freaked out. And this one guy passed out and hits his head on the seat in front of him and just gashes his head open. I'm like, oh my gosh. But the best one was this one image someone put on Twitter where this guy is just basically they had the EMTs around him. He's outside the movie theater, just like they're like trying to revive the guy, and right behind him is a poster of Terrifier 2, and they had this little happy face over his face. And I was like, oh my god, that's the image right there that sells it to everybody. And I was like, what a great. And then they started like handing out the puke bags. I'm like, this is great. This is great. And I was like, it's been a while since you heard about something like that happening in a movie. And that's why like the mainstream media caught on to it. And they started like, well, I think that's what started really building up the hype behind it. It's like, what is about this movie that's making people pass out and puke? And I'm like, this is great. I love it. So yeah. And you probably heard a rumor about part 3 that there was a scene that made me a little bit sick in my stomach. Horror films and comedy are always supposed to push the envelope, I feel. You need to see what you can get away with, and you experiment, and that's where you get some really cool stuff. And that's why for part 3 we decided to still stay basically independent. We were approached by the big studios. They're throwing money at us left and right, and Damien even went to the fans. He's like, okay, what do you guys want? Do you want a bigger budget Terrifier film with studio support, with possible restrictions? Or do you want a lower budget, bigger budget than part 2, but a lower budget, but freedom to do what we keep doing? And it was unanimous. Not one single person said to go with studio system. They're all like, make what you've been making. And that's what we did. Because we couldn't have filmed, I think, the first 5 minutes of Terrifier 3 if we went with the studios. They would like, no, you cannot do that. And we're like, no, we're not going to do that. And I thought that took a lot of guts on Damien's part, because it's very, very tempting to be offered a much bigger budget. We all could have been making a lot more money than we did. But I was like, no, I think the important thing is to keep to the integrity of what Damien had created and the spirit of this franchise, because we did not want to sell out to the studio system. We wanted to make the same type of films that you guys love, and that's what we did. And I think you guys are going to be very, very happy.
Please forgive me. I've been told that this might be a trigger warning for you, and maybe I'm wrong, but why is it for him? Why is your character called Art the Clown when so very clearly he is a mime?
Oh, I hate you.
I
know. No, he is not a mime. And this is I love to try to explain this one to people, because some people fight me on this, but this is I have done my research. It's just something I believe in major research. And the different art is a silent clown, and there's a difference between silent clowns and mimes. And the big difference is mimes do not use props. They pantomime everything, hence the name mimes. Silent clowns use props, and that's the difference. So that's why he is Art the Clown and not Art the Mime. And that is really why Allie died so badly, is because she called him a mime. As I say, you don't call Art the M word. That's hate speech to clowns.
Hello again. So I was curious, since Terrifier is growing, I saw that Spirit Halloween is going to have a whole bunch of Terrifier merch this year. And so my question is, how do you feel about it in stores, and are you going to buy one? I think there's going to be an Art the Clown, like, animatronic and a pale girl at Party City. So I was wondering if you buy your own merch and stuff like that.
It makes me so happy. I'm like such a big kid, and it's just like, this is the coolest thing in the world to me. It's just like, that was actually one of my biggest goals for the longest time, was to actually have my own action figure one day. And so when
you do.
I do. I have my own Funko Pop now too. I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like, I love this kind of stuff. So, but an animatronic, I never expected anything like that. And I saw the one downstairs. I'm like, this is so cool. That's the first time I've seen one in the wild. And I'm like, this is so cool. Oh my gosh, this is the coolest. I really want to get one so I can put it on my porch at my apartment, just so I can freak out everybody else in the community. Because it's like, because I overlooked the pool too. So I'm like, oh, that would be fun. So yeah, maybe just dress up like it one day and just really freak people out, and they think it's him, it's actually me, and I'm like, ah. But it makes me so happy. It's just like, that is like something I never expected in my life, and it just, it's my inner kid just gets so excited about that kind of stuff. So I'm very grateful to that. That makes me so happy.
I love it. Do your neighbors know that you're Art the Clown at all?
I don't know. I know some people in my building have recognized me, which I'm like, wow. Because, I look totally different than I do in character, so I'm like, you guys must be real fans if you recognize me just walking around. So I think that's really interesting that people can recognize me when I'm in Clark Kent mode. So, yeah.
Guys, that was the last lady. Y'all give him a round of applause real quick.
Thank you.